Hi, Tzili.
Welcome to another tzuzamen. Tzipi,
Aha.
Chewy. Yonatan Esterkin. So last week we spoke with Ron Avni, who founded the Jewish Repertory Theater that was working around 25, 30 years in New York till a few years ago. Today we're talking with you, Jonathan. We're talking about the new Jewish
Which is
theater.
wonderful.
So tell us a little bit about it.
Well, it's thank you for first of all, it's really it's a pleasure to be here. Um, the idea behind the new Jewish theater is just the fact that I feel that there's a necessity, especially now with everything that's been
Sure.
going on the last year or so. But even before, I mean, we are, for better or for worse, we're at a time now, especially in New York and the US, that it seems like more and more we are expected to tell our own stories, right? It's becoming less and less acceptable for people of different religions and different cultures to tell someone else's story, right? You're expected to tell your own story and not presume to be able to tell someone else's story. And in that atmosphere, I thought that it's appropriate to have a new Jewish theater here in New York, the most Jewish city in the world. There are more Jews here than in any other place in the world. And I thought that there should be a new Jewish theater here in the city in English, not Yiddish, not Hebrew, English, because that's the language that people speak
Right.
in New York. And that this new theater should focus on research and raise questions of Jewish culture, be it rethinking about classics or making new classics, debating about current affairs. You know, it's flexible in that sense, but it has to be about us and be a safe place for all forms and all sorts of Jewish,
And non-Jewish.
obviously non-Jewish are invited. I mean, it's not, no one is being sent away. And it's not that the playwright needs to be Jewish or the actor needs to be Jewish or the director needs to be Jewish. As far as I'm concerned, for example, Merchant of Venice is a Jewish play. Shakespeare didn't need to
Right.
be Jewish for that, even though they found that Columbus was Jewish.
Yeah. Right.
Maybe they'll decide that Shakespeare was Jewish as well. But I do think that in that sense, and I love Shakespeare very much, but if someone comes and says to me, listen, I have this amazing concept to do Julius Caesar as, I don't know, a rabbi in a yeshiva, then great, that's a Jewish play. But if you want to do Julius Caesar, you know, as a Roman dictator, then that's not the place. So that would be, the where I would try and draw the line.
You're going to have two readings soon,
Yeah,
two plays.
yeah.
Uh, why did you choose? Tell us a little bit about the plays that you chose and why those two.
Well, we're about to have two stage readings at the Tank Theater on the 17, 18, and 19 of December. The first one that will be presented on the 17th and the 19th, it's called Shelter. And that's an adaptation that I did to 12 short texts. Most of them were published in an anthology named Shelter that was published in Israel about month and a half after October 7th. And in it, and then I added two more texts that I asked other people to add. And this anthology is trying to kind of find words. It's all people who are writers. It's not a verbatim play. It's not people, telling their experiences from October 7th. I ran, I was shot at, I saw this, I saw that. It's not that kind of play. It's a play that was written, or it's an anthology that was written. Those 12 short texts were written by professional writers, poets, novelists, playwrights, journalists, and all of them, each in his own words. Some are Israelis, some aren't, some are Jewish, some aren't. Um, but they all were affected by October 7, and they all try in their own words to kind of make sense or find the words to describe this thing that's very much undescribable.
It's a dramatic
we're
piece.
trying
It's
anyway.
it's a dramatic
Yes,
piece, right? So the
obviously. See, if
character,
it's
it's a drama, characters, conflict, everything in each one of them,
it's
right?
and not exactly. Some of them are written, or I adapted them more to be like a small drama with conflicts with characters. Some of them are more like some sort of storytelling theater. Some of them are more abstract. Some are more realistic. It varies. It's not a well-made play with characters and beginning, middle, end. It's not that kind of thing. It's more abstract. And it's very diverse because you have 12 different writers, and I was trying to find a way to both connect the whole thing to a one evening that has one style to
Like
it,
one thing.
but still give each of the writers a different approach and a different interpretation. The way I see it, obviously, it's all the way I see it, but you know,
Is it different
and
actors for each? It's a different actors for each piece, or
no, it's five actors that change characters and change and do the whole thing
right,
together.
right, okay. Um, so
And then
it's not
And the other one?
and then the second reading that is going to be on the 18th. Shelter is going to be on the 17th and the 19th. And in the middle, on the 18th, we have a more Shelter is also directed. It's a stage reading, but it's more than a reading. It's a reading plus. There's mise en scène, there's music, there's videos, there's lots of things going on. The second reading is much more traditional reading, sitting, standing, reading from paper, the traditional way. And it's a reading of a very beautiful, funny, sad play by Hanoch Levine. It was really
a major,
obviously
major.
the most important
Playwright.
Israeli playwright, and to my opinion, one of the biggest writers ever in Hebrew. And it's Melechet HaChaim, The Labor of Life, a play that he wrote in the early 90s. And it's the first time that it's going to be done in English in New York.
Not the first. I have to say
For
not the
now,
first because
מלאכת החיים?
Melechet HaChaim, it was many, many, many years ago in La Mama.
Ah,
no, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Um,
I know I did the costumes, so it was many years.
I didn't
Yeah.
know that. I thought they only did it in Yiddish. So yeah, so it's hopefully it's going to be just the start
but
of something. And
you plan eventually, if everything goes according to your plan, to show it as a play?
I hope so, yeah.
Okay.
I love the play very much. I think that it's a very beautiful play. I think that the actors that we have are very good and very interesting for this play. And they say that Levine has a problem succeeding in the US. Something doesn't work there. But I've done another play by Levine in Los Angeles a few years ago. I did Jacobi in Leidenthal.
Mm-hmm.
And in English at the Odyssey Theater, and it was a very big success. Ran for a few weeks, and we had full houses, and it was really nice. So I believe that it can work here. My experience says that it can, and let's see.
I wonder if I mean, as far as I'm concerned, the Israel cultural minister must support you, but I don't know now with this.
They did,
He did? Oh,
yeah,
this is
very
great. I mean,
generously.
yeah, because it is an interest, of
They
all of
did.
us to have a
I'm
Jewish
telling you,
culture.
they did, and they should get all the credit for it.
Yeah, sure. I'm very happy to hear it because it's really very important. You have the Irish theater here, which is for many, many years very successful. For all audiences are coming. You don't have to be Irish. Um,
Yeah,
but
that's
the
exactly what I
yeah.
told them, and they were very, very supportive and very helpful. And yeah,
So the actors are basically most of them American, right? They're from here.
yeah, yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Jonathan, what is your experience with the local audience?
Well, my experience was mostly with Los Angeles audience because my the last 3 years I was working in LA, so I don't have that much experience with local New York audience. But if it's good, it'll find its audience.
Yes.
And I gotta say that I'm not that worried about quantities. I mean, I don't, I don't. Obviously, I'd like the venue to be full, and I'd like people to come and enjoy and think but I don't really care if I do a play for 50 times or 100 times or 20 times, or if it's a venue of 100 or 1,000. I really don't care that much.
The truth is that the audience of New York is there is an audience for everything. And once they find their niche and they like it, they stay, they follow, and they're loyal.
Right?
And
No, but I think he's right about now because I think that the Jewish audience, they really is theater lovers. And I think if you go and see how many from the population who go to theater in New York are Jewish. However, I'm not sure if they used to go to a Jewish theater. It's two different things. But I think now, I think there will be more.
But when you say Jewish, it's very general
What do you
because
mean?
the Jewish people of New York are very different one from another. There are very many types of Jewish people in New York. And
I don't think so. I think there
of
is a Jewish
course,
community here, which is big, different shuls, different synagogues. I don't speak about the Haredim. So you have the conservative and you have the
no, you're
reforms.
talking about synagogues, and I'm talking about people that don't go to synagogues.
They are theater people.
They're very different types of Jewish people, and it's nice to address a wide range so they can all come and find their.
Yeah, but I think now they will be more willing to really go to, with the title Jewish theater. By the way, I have colleagues in NYU, like Daniel Goldfarb. He did a lot of, and so he's a playwright. I have students who are playwright Jewish, and now they're working all over the place. I think the pool of Jewish talent, although you say it's
Yeah.
not important if they're Jewish or not, but I don't know if you have many non-Jews who tell Jewish stories. I know that there are quite a few
Yeah.
playwrights and storytellers who are Jewish and can really you can really have a lot of pool to draw
Sure.
from.
Of course.
Yeah.
Do you have a special DNA that you would like to amplify in the theater just to follow something specific?
Yeah, well, first of all, things can change and evolve with time, and eventually, I'd like the theater to incorporate more DNAs and even not necessarily only things that I find interesting, because you know I know that after all, my taste is only my taste. However, in the beginning, at least, since in the beginning it's me, I would try to accommodate to a certain level of, things that I find interesting. And that could be a variety of different themes and different genres. It can be a comedy, it can be a drama, it could be uh, modern, it could be classic. The thing that I find interesting in theater usually is try and research it, try and take it apart and put it back together in a different way. Um, I always ask myself when I approach something, why does this need to be on stage?
Right.
I believe that if something can be on television, it should be on television.
Right.
Uh,
You need the right
if
excuse to put it on stage.
Yeah, I mean, if it's a classic and we're familiar with it, we've all seen it, we've all read it, then I think, and again, this is only my opinion and my taste. Let a thousand flowers bloom. But I think that if when I come to see something as an audience or come to direct something, I ask myself, what can I do with this thing on stage that I can't do with it on television? It's if it's a classic that we all know, then I don't see the point in doing it as it was done before. Um, I don't care that much what's written in the play in that sense. I mean, if it says that it takes place in the 50s, I don't feel that it uh, requires me to actually do it in the 50s, unless there's something I want to say about that. But you know, and so, but that's my approach. Then, so those are the things that I will be looking for, at least in the beginning. Uh, and then,
Yeah, it's very
sky's the
important
limit.
because you know that it is surprising, or maybe not, it's something to think about. Why so few Israeli plays from the Israeli theater didn't come here, except from the public theater, who did pick up like one or two or three.
The
Very,
BAM. We did
the BAM, maybe one or two.
and also Lincoln Center Festival.
Okay, this is festival, but I speak.
The question is, are you talking about plays or about shows?
No, I speak about
Different things.
plays.
So plays is a different thing.
Translated to English plays that are playing now, even, in the theaters in Israel.
Yeah.
Some of
I
them,
think that
all of them is
I'll
universal.
tell you. I think that the main reason is that the theater in Israel tends to be. We spoke before about the pupik. The
Right.
Israeli theater tends to be local. It tends to be some sort of.
I don't accept it because, so it's not good plays. A good play can be local, but then toward the end or something, it's become universal.
I think
something happens in the play that it's open up, go from the local, and it's universal and it's compelling.
Sometimes, but sometimes it doesn't.
This is what I think
It
it's a
really.
good play.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I'm not.
Jonathan, in every play, you have the international level and the local level. If you have a Russian play or a Swedish play, um, it's very different when it's at home and it's very different when it's outside. But it has these two levels, and the same about
Not all
Israel.
of them is right.
The
Some of the
thing-
plays are very local.
But the question is, how do you do the adaptation? And how do you address the new place?
Right.
So if you address the new place and you bring it to the audience in a way that they can get it to a certain point, then you can really use it.
Sometimes and sometimes not. I mean, if you look at Chekhov's, and Chekhov is both local and international.
Absolutely. That's what I'm talking
In
about.
that sense, Hanoch Levin is also local and international, and Hanoch Levin is very successful now.
Right.
Not in the US, but it's very successful. He's done a lot in France. He's done a lot in Poland. I've done Hanoch Levin in Slovenia. It was a great success. And I wasn't even the only one in Slovenia to do Hanoch Levin. He's even done a lot in China.
Yeah.
However, name two more playwrights or three more playwrights other than Chekhov, Gogol. Okay, and So, it's not that easy. And
It's really
consider,
interesting.
I didn't say that it's easy. I didn't
so
say
I'm
that,
saying, yeah, it's
but I
the
think that
Israeli theater tends to be about us, about now. Things change very, very, very quickly in Israel.
How to reflect.
So, it's sometimes not easy to get an Israeli play translated and adapted to someone else's mentality and still keep the actual play. Also, things in Israel tend to, as I said, to change very, very, very quickly. So
Right.
things that were
I
very
said it's
important
hard to
5 years
reflect on
ago are
what
not. Yeah.
happens. But
Uh,
I have a story to tell you why China, you say China, the China really shows Israeli or Jewish, plays. There is a fantastic story about Ang Lee, who
mhm.
wrote a film. He did it with James Jamos, who is a very also Jewish producer. Uh, and the play was about a Chinese family, and it didn't work. Something didn't go right. So James said, why don't we change and make the character Jewish? The same play. And it was fun, it was fantastic. It really worked. And then they went back to the Chinese version. And it was fantastic. It was men, women, drink, eat, something like this. It's a very famous film. So there is, I think, this is what I mean. There is some, I mean, if you, a good play, as I said, for me, can, like Chekhov, can be very local, almost limited in scope, but yet
Yeah.
it's like so universal that everybody can
no,
connect to it.
Of course, it's
many, many,
just
many years ago in New York, they were trying to bring to combine to do collaboration between European and New Yorkers productions, especially London, and it never it it wasn't really sitting well. And then they gave up and they just brought the production, let's say, from London, and they said, okay, just be here for a while and do it, which was much smarter. There is, it's very
even though the mentality of the theater in London and in New York is pretty similar. The mentality of the
now,
theater in
now.
maybe, I don't know, the mentality of the theater in Berlin and New York is very different. What's considered good theater here and what's considered good theater in Berlin are two completely different animals. It's almost impossible to identify the two as the same thing.
Do we know
It's
why? What distinguishes them?
well, there are lots of reasons, but the distinguished is, I think, that the theater in Berlin tends to be Berlin, and Berlin is like the capital of Europe in that sense, because it's true for every place around except for England. And the closer you are to Germany, the more it is like that. So I'm talking about Poland and Austria and Switzerland and the Baltic states and the North European, Norway, and in the theater there usually is done for an audience of devout theater goers. It's audience that really, really, it's like a niche art. It's a little bit like opera in other places or jazz, but not even. Maybe even like, I don't know, contemporary dance. It's really done for its niche art. And they don't care that much how many people come see it because the government pays for everything anyway.
That's right. I think it's mainly economical because here
Yeah.
everything is very
Yeah.
expensive and they need to cover the
and
expenses.
and it's and
Europe is
it's a it's a
different.
it's a
Yeah,
chicken and egg kind of thing
right.
because of that mentality, because of that reality. When you need to cover your expenses, you tend to approach a larger common denominator audience, and then that becomes the aesthetic that people are used to, and then that becomes the good aesthetic. So now
Oh, they
people
can
are
be more creative.
learning,
They
and
can.
now people learn to do it like that, or so it's like it's a circle thing. That's like a big difference between European theater and American or American English,
I
even
think that
Israeli theater.
culturally, the European people are more. I remember I went in Dublin. I went to see the theater. It's like butter and bread, it's the basics for everybody. They need it, they want it, they look for it. It's part of their everyday thing, not like in the United States. And also, I think that the Israeli audience is more open because we come from everywhere. We're more open, compared to the United States.
I don't know how much more open we are, maybe a little bit, but most of the theater in Israel pretty much resembles what's happening in England or Britain and America. You can roughly divide and put US, UK, and Israel on one side, and Europe and the rest of Europe on the other side.
I
Roughly.
think that at one point when the Israeli culture or Israeli life became like between socialism and capitalism, the head of theaters and the audience always said, we're going to London to see, we're going to New York to see. And they just went to bring production. And it's unfortunate because we don't have enough because it finished for quickly. And there are more places that you can bring shows from.
Yes, but then you're back in the same problem like we said before. The theaters in Israel, unlike Germany or places like that in the world, are very much afraid of the audience because their support, the government support that they receive, is not enough. It's more than here in America, but it's not like in Europe. Even in Europe, it's not like in Europe anymore. Even their level of support in the theater and funding is decreasing with time. Even in Europe today, I mean, when I say Europe again, I don't mean England, Ireland, those kind of places. I mean, Europe, the mainland. Even they are in trouble. So in other places, it's really difficult. I mean, you're a theater, you don't know how much money you're going to have next year. You don't know, and you're responsible to dozens and dozens of people and families that live off the theater. So again, you have to be approachable. So that's like the big difference, I think.
Listen, first of all, I think it's a great idea, and I'm very happy to see or to hear that there are people who support you.
Yeah,
because it is you have to be a theater person is a mission anyway. It is in the DNA, a mission, to be a storyteller, to try to bring and share emotions, ideas, whatever. But to start something now from scratch is unbelievable, right?
Yeah, I've chosen the best year possible to do it, of course.
Well, you
It's
know what?
always a good
Maybe
time.
maybe it is a good time. You'll be
Maybe,
surprised.
maybe.
Like it sounds
And Rabli
awful.
Tov. Yeah.
No,
I
right,
think
right.
the right timing is basically from the willness of the crowd and the personality of the person who does it.
Right.
And it's always bringing something interesting. And it's nice that it's fresh and it's coming out. So it's exciting.
Yeah,
Anyway,
very exciting.
we're always waiting
I
for
agree. It's
somebody.
exciting to me too.
I think we're always waiting for somebody that will bring good theater and will do something fresh and new and well done. So
Listen, thank you so
we'll
much
give you a lot of
for
credit.
yeah.
And we're looking forward to see and hopefully for success.
Right.
Yes, guys, thank you very much. I'm sorry you can't come, but spread the
But
word,
do
and
more.
I hope
Yeah,
that
we will
in the
spread
next
it.
year.
Yeah,
Yeah.
wonderful.
Anyway, Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Good luck.
Shalom.
Shabbat
Shabbat
Shalom.
Shalom.
Yeah.
נכון. Okay.
And see
Thank
you
you for
all
Shabbat
coming.
Shalom.
next
Thank
week.
you.
Tzili.
Bye.